Okay, good morning. So we're up to a new siman now, siman Reish Ayin Vov Halacha Aleph. Any Yehudi shehidlik es haneh b'shvil Yisrael. A non-Jewish person lights a candle for a Yisrael, for a Jewish person. Also lakol. It's also not just for the Jewish person for whom he lit it. Afilu lemi shelo hudlik b'shvil. Even for any other Jewish person, any other Yisrael, is not allowed to benefit from this light that was lit by an Ein Yehudi for Yisrael. Says the Ramah, "Ve'in chiluk b'zeh bein kotzev le'schar or lo kotzev." It doesn't make a difference whether he was paid for it. You fixed the price for that work. She'asoi b'kablonus or b'schirus, whatever the arrangement was. Rashi, the Mishnah Berurah, will explain what the differences are. The Hoil v'Yisrael ne'enim melacha atzma b'Shabbos. Since the Yisrael benefits from the melacha done by this Ein Yehudi on Shabbos, also b'chol inyan it is also. Aval im ha'yimadlika hidlika letzarkai. If, however, the Ein Yehudi lights it for his own benefit, or the Ein Yehudi lights it for a benefit of a chayla, for a Jewish chayla who is not in danger even, says the Ramah, or for the benefit of kids, who've got the same din of a chayla she'ein b'sakana, then mutzah l'chol Yisrael l'shtamish la'iroi. If it was allowed for the Ein Yehudi to light this light, then it would be okay for anyone to use the light. And the same is true if the non-Jewish person made a medura, which means some sort of fire, like an indoor fire to warm himself up, he did it either for his own benefit or l'tzarech chayla, then that would be okay for any other Yisrael to benefit from it. For yesh eisrim b'medura, there are those who asa in the case of a fire. The concern is that he might put a few more logs in order to increase the heat for the benefit of this Yisrael. Says the Ramah, Hagar, just finishing off this Sif Aleph, Miu im Osein Yehudi beveis Yisrael midaita. If he does it, the Ein Yehudi just comes in and he turns the light on in the Jewish person's house. The Yisrael doesn't have to leave his house and walk out because this non-Jewish person, unasked, just came in and put on a light or put on a fire for him. The Yisrael doesn't have to leave the house. Okay, so what have we said? That the rule of this sif is that a non-Jewish person who puts on a light for a Jew, for Yisrael, no one can benefit from this light, certainly not the person for whom it was done, and even not any other Yisrael. He can't benefit from this malach that was done in a prohibited way by a non-Jewish person for the benefit of Yisrael. Not only that, and it does make a difference what the arrangement is, kabbalah, schiras, schar, not schar. At the end of the day, the Yisrael can't get benefit from this malacha. But if the non-Jewish person put on the light, or made or put on the light, or whatever, did it in a hetedik way, for example, for a chayla, or for his own benefit, for the guy's own benefit, or for ketanim, then it would be allowed. That's the general rule. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah Aleph, shehidlik. So the Ein Yehudi is madlik haneh for the Yisrael. Says the Mishnah Berurah, is lav dafka, this is huadin any other malacha. Huadin lechol malacha she'as Ein Yehudi b'Shabbos b'shvil Yisrael, to also lechol lehenos mizeh. If a non-Jewish person did a malacha for Yisrael, then no Yisrael can benefit from it. Va'ayin le'el b'simulation base, sif base, l'inyan kablonus. Okay. Also, midrabanan. Now, of course, it's also midrabanan. If the non-Jewish person puts the light on and the Jew benefits, that's not also min ha-Torah. This is also midrabanan. Why? Why did Chazal say it's also? Because otherwise, if it was allowed for a non-Jewish person to put lights on, so you just go and tell him to do it. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is it's Amir al-Nochri. And that's already the Novi says, you dabbe dove, you're not allowed to tell the dove. And there are three reasons why Amir al-Nochri is not allowed. We discussed this before, either because the actual Amira is shlichus, or because it's a zilzal Shabbos, that Shabbos will come cheap. If you come home and you tell him, do me a favor, can you fry me an egg? Or can you turn this light on or put on? Then it sort of cheapens the whole of Shabbos. So that's what Chazal worried about. In note 4, he actually gives another reason, aside from the fact that you might come to just tell him to put the light on. In addition to that, he says, Tam noisef kosav lekamon, she'osru lehonis melocha she'osa nochri b'Shabbos, afilu ad motzi Shabbos, b'chtei sheyaseh. You got to wait not to leave until Motzei Shabbos, but even b'chdei sheyaseh. For example, if he bakes a cake or something, puts the oven on, and it takes half an hour to bake the cake, then you've got to wait b'chdei sheyaseh, half an hour after Shabbos, or something like that. Kadei shelo yohanu melacha hanasis b'shvil Yisrael b'Shabbos. V'chol shkein shemitam ze also zagam b'Shabbos atzmo lehnus melechas nachri. Not only on Motzei Shabbos, but even on, of course, on Shabbos as well. Or bia hadov v'kos v'yam sheshleima shegnai hu la'odom sheyalm melechas Shabbos. It's a gnai for a person to get benefit from melacha that was done on Shabbos. Okay, so those are the reasons. Now afilu. So afilu. So we said even asur lakol afilu lemishaloi hudluk b'shvila, even for a person for whom it wasn't lit for him, even for another. So the non-Jewish person turned on the light for Reuven, and then Shimon walks in and he wants to benefit. He can't because it was done for a Yisrael. If you look at note number 5. Just this short note. Because let's say the any Yehudi puts on the light for Reuven, and then an hour later Shimon walks in and wants to benefit. He's not allowed to because it was done for Reuven, and the concern that he might go and tell the non-Jewish person to put the light on is not there because it's not, he wasn't done for him. We say lo plug. It was done for Yisrael, finished, not allowed. Okay, carrying on the Mishnah Berurah, Gimel. When a non-Jewish person brings something mechus tchum for Reuven, then Shimon can use it. We'll get there in Mishnah. The tchumen drabonon. Why? Because carrying in a tchum is a drabon, or beyond the tchum is a drabonon. So that's the chiluk. When it comes to melacha deraisa, that the non-Jewish person put the light on for Reuven, so then no other Jew can do it because that's an issa deraisa, and we're worried you might come to tell the non-Jewish person to do it directly. That's doing an issa deraisa. But when it comes to derabonons, i.e., for example, carrying chus tchum, so then it might be also for the person who was intended for, but any other Yisrael would be okay. Now, bein kotzav sif cotton dalet. It says the Mishnah Berurah, whether the non-Jewish person, they fixed the price for him. On Erev Shabbos they fixed the price. We don't say that he's doing it for his own benefit, he's doing it because of the money he's getting, he's getting the wage, that was fixed, like we said previously, okay, so then this is going on the Ramah. The Ramah says either or if he was getting it b'kablonos b'schiras. Pirush l'masha oma mitchila bein kotzav, whether they fixed the price al zeh oma, whether bein shehiksev v'hoysa b'kablonos b'schiras, whether it was fixed by way of kablonos or schiras. What's the difference? Kablonos mikri heichesh schiras stam lahadik nener be'eshe historich v'kotzav le'mikol hadlok adov kotzav. I'll pay you 50 pence, 50 cents every time you turn the light on. Or schiras mikri b'kshnisnim b'chol yom kach v'kach. I'll pay you $20 a day, and that's your payment. That's the difference between kabbalas and schiras. Is it for the action, or is it like a daily payment or an hourly payment? Then the Ramah says, but if he did it, this is going on the Mechaber still. No, it's going on the Ramah. But the Mechaber said, but if he did it for himself, the non-Jewish person did it for himself, or for the tzarech of a chayla, or for the tzarech of ketanim, then that's different, that would be okay. Ketanim, says the Mishnah Berurah, hainum tzrichim harbe, only ketanim who really need it. But otherwise you can't just benefit, even if it was done for a cotton, you shouldn't really benefit, unless the kid really needs it. Then, in that situation, we said, so if the non-Jewish person did it in a hetetic way, then anyone can use it. Says the Mishnah Berurah Zayin, why? Very good svara. Because even lechatchila, in a situation where you've got a chayla, I can tell the non-Jewish person to go ahead and do the malacha. So therefore, if he goes and does it for the benefit of the chayla, there's no problem. Lishtamish la'irei, sifkat and ches. So we said, mutar lechol Yisrael lishtamish la'irei. Says the Mishnah Berurah, afilu hu makirei. Even if I know who, I recognize, he recognizes the Yisrael. And we're not worried that he sort of did a bit more or Shema Yarb B'Shvilo for this Yisrael. When you switch the light on, it's the same light for one person as it is for 100 people. And therefore it doesn't make a difference where the non-Jewish person did this malacha. Good. Now, then the first shit of the Machaba is the same of the above applies where he made a fire to warm himself up for the non-Jewish person's own benefit. So the same applies. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Tess, if the non-Jewish person put the heating on or made a fire for himself, then other Jewish people can benefit from it, or Jewish people can benefit from it. Because if this non-Jewish person made a fire and he for himself, for the non-Jewish person, and other Jewish people come into the room, then no problem, because it can warm up a whole room. It's the same svara. But then we said there are those who prohibit a madura because we're worried he might throw on an extra log for the benefit of the Yisrael. The v'yesh oisrim svir lehu the madura gazrin shem yarbe. We're worried that he might add on extra logs. And it's not the same as ner, which is where we say ner le'echod ner le'mer. Because if there are more people who need the fire, then you need to throw on extra logs or wood or whatever. If the non-Jewish person put the oven on for his own benefit, so if the non-Jewish person went into the winter, the oven house that they had in those days, and he turned it on for himself, well, that's just a fixed thing that is there. There's no shaila of Shema Yarba B'Shvilo, and therefore, because it warms the whole house, whether there's 5 people in the room, or 2 people in the room, or 20 people in the room. Yisif Kotzim Yud, because there are yesh oisrim with the Madura, because we're goizer Shema Yarba B'Shvilo, says the Mishnah Berurah Yisif Kotzim Yud, V'im Yodua Hu She'ena Makirei. If we know that the guy, the Eina Yehudi, Eina Makir, doesn't know the Jewish person, then Shoy L'Kula Alma, then it will be permitted. Okay, turn over 2 pages. But then the Ramah finishes off. Miu, we said, Im Osa Eina Yehudi Be'Beis Yisrael Midaitoi, if the non-Jewish person did it in the Jewish person's home, Midaitoi, with his knowledge, Midaita for his own benefit, on his own accord. No one told him to do it. He just walked in and did it off his own accord, for his own, volition. Even though the Yisrael is benefiting it, we don't ask the Yisrael to leave the house because he didn't do anything wrong. This non-Jewish person just came in, turned on the lights. You don't have to tell him to leave. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yud Aleph, Hainu dafka achar shekvar also ein Yehudi. That's only after the Ein Yehudi went and did it. Or my Yesh Yisrael says, what can he do? We don't ask him to leave the house. But we tell him he should warn the Ein Yehudi, please don't do this again. I don't want to benefit from this action. If he sees the Ein Yehudi heading towards the light switch, about to switch the light on, or to make a fire, then you should protest against it before he does it.
Even if it's for the good benefit as well?
It seems so. Yeah, it seems so. Yeah, wow. Or just to walk out, just leave. Yeah, don't stay there. You can't benefit from it. That's the answer. Because of the ner and the eitzim shel Yisrael, which implies that if he did it for himself and it doesn't belong to this Yisrael, then l'chayr will be okay. Even if the Yisrael is leaving the room, but since he's doing it with the Yisrael's ner or wood, then it's a problem. The Cholsh came base Yisrael. And if he's doing it anyway, he's turning on the lights, he's putting on the ovens. It looks very dodgy, it looks very strange that he's doing it in a Jewish person's house, and this is a chashat. If he's doing it in the Yisrael's house, it looks very dodgy. Okay, but Beis Yisrael says, so if the non-Jewish person does it midaitoi in the Beis Yisrael, says the Mishnah Berurah Beis lav dafka. Duadin im Shabbos b'maloin. It's l'ein Yehudi b'Shabbos, even if he was in a hotel or something. Kabeisahu, that's got a din of his house, of the Yisrael's house. V'lo yitrichu lot says b'meno. We don't ask the Yisrael to leave. Midaitoi. Hainu shelo tzivo Yisrael. What does midaito mean? That the non-Jewish person did it on his own volition, and there was no Yisrael who instructed him to do it. Even though the Einu Yehudi is doing it for his own benefit, lo hitrichu. Sorry, even though he's automatically getting the benefit, that still we don't ask him to leave. But you shouldn't just get, dovish lohoy yochel lases beloiner and ischam neged hamadur. You should try and avoid getting the benefit. Try and avoid getting, now that you've got this extra light on, you can't start doing some very close reading that I couldn't do beforehand, or get close to the fire that I wouldn't warm me otherwise. But if you instruct him to do it, then then you can't benefit from it and you've got to leave. Yudalit, so if the non-Jewish person did it from his own volition, you don't have to leave the house, and moreover, you don't actually have to turn your head away. If you want to do, be very frum and do a midas chasidus, then that's a good thing to do. Okay, so that's the end of that. We'll leave it there. But what an important klal emerges, that you can't benefit from malacha done by an Ein Yehudi. So if he walks into a room and he turns on the light for Reuven, this Ein Yehudi, then not only can Reuven not benefit from it, but even Shimon can't benefit. But if the Ein Yehudi turned on the light in an acceptable way, either he did it totally for himself, or he did it for a choyle or for a carton who needs it, then that would be okay. Because Lamais, in that situation, you could tell him to do it for the choyle, or you can tell him to do it for the carton in those situations. Okay, Seder, we'll leave it there.